So let's get right into it. Robert Greene's The 48 Laws of Power. It's not really just a book. It's more like a secret playbook for the invisible game being played all around us. It makes the case that power is a game, and, like any game, it has a set of rules. And if you ignore those rules, well, things can go south fast. But if you master them, you can gain some serious influence.
Right out of the gate, we get law number 1, and honestly, it might be the most important rule in the entire book. It sounds so simple, right? Never outshine the master. But history is just littered with the stories of brilliant people who forgot this one rule and paid a heavy, heavy price for it. Let's look at a perfect example of what not to do.
Okay, let me tell you about this guy, Nicolas Faucet. He was the finance minister for King Louis XIV back in 17th century France. The prime minister dies, and Faucet thinks, this is my moment. So to impress the king, he throws the most incredible, over-the-top party anyone in France had ever seen. But here's the thing. The king wasn't impressed. He felt upstaged. The very next day, Faucet was arrested on fake charges and thrown in prison for the rest of his life. He broke law number 1, and he lost everything. And look, this isn't just some old story from a history book. What happened to Fawcett shows us a really hard truth. Power is all about psychology. If you make the people above you feel insecure, you've made a fatal error. Ignoring these unwritten rules is just asking for trouble, but understanding them, well, as we're about to see, that can unlock a whole new level of influence.
So, here's how we're going to break this all down. We've grouped the key laws into a few main themes. We'll start with the basic rules of the game, then dive into the art of concealment, and after that, how to master your public image. Then we'll get into the mechanics of influence, before we wrap up by asking a pretty serious question about power itself. All right, first up, the rules of the game. This is all about getting a handle on those hidden dynamics we talked about. Because unlike Faucet, some people throughout history have played this game to absolute perfection. This is just a perfect illustration of how this one law can go two totally different ways. On one side, you've got Fawcett, who made his boss look bad. On the other, you have the brilliant astronomer Galileo Galilei. He needed money for his work, right? So when he discovers the moons of Jupiter, what does he do? He very cleverly dedicates the discovery to the powerful Medici family, whose symbol just happened to be Jupiter. The Medici saw this as a sign of their divine greatness, so they made him their official court mathematician. One guy ignores the law and dies in a cell, the other masters it and thrives. Okay, now that we've got the basic rules down, let's move to the next level, the art of concealment. And this is fascinating, because it's not just about what you do, it's about the strategic power of what you don't say and what you don't show. You want to see a master of this in action? Look no further than Otto von Bismarck in the 19th century. His goal was to unify Germany, and to do that, he had to take down Austria. But he knew Prussia wasn't strong enough yet, so he concealed his intentions. Publicly, he was all about peace and diplomacy. But secretly, behind the scenes, he was building a war machine. Then, when the moment was perfect, he struck, and Austria never saw it coming. Real power comes from controlling what other people think you're going to do. And this leads us right into Law 4. Always say less than necessary. And guess who was a master of this? Yep, King Louis XIV, the very same king Faucet tried to impress. He was famous for his short, cryptic answers. That silence made him seem mysterious and powerful. It made other people nervous, so they'd start talking, trying to fill the silence, and in doing so, they'd reveal their own plans and weaknesses. Talk too much, and you're bound to say something dumb. Say less, and everything you say seems more profound. Okay, so we've talked about what to hide, now let's flip the script and talk about what to show. Our next section is all about mastering your public image, because power isn't just about what you do in secret. It's about building a reputation and controlling exactly how the world sees you. Law 5 is blunt. So much depends on reputation, you have to guard it with your life. Think about Cesare Borgia in Renaissance Italy. His greatest weapon wasn't his soldiers. It was his terrifying reputation for being ruthless. That image alone was enough to make his rivals think twice. The trick is to build your reputation around one defining quality. Then you defend it fiercely, which, as the law suggests, sometimes means attacking the reputations of others before they can attack yours. This whole idea of reputation flows right into another law: court attention at all costs. And oh man, there is no better or sadder example of this than the rivalry between Thomas Edison and Nikola Tesla. You could argue Tesla was the more brilliant mind, but Edison was a showman. He staged huge public demos. He made wild claims to the press. He controlled the story.
In the game of power, how you're perceived is often more important than the reality. Edison became a legend. Tesla died broke and forgotten.
Now, a really key part of managing your image is this incredible Italian concept called sprezzatura. It's the art of making something incredibly difficult look totally effortless. Think about the magician Harry Houdini. He practiced his escapes for years, relentlessly. But to the audience, it looked like he had supernatural powers. See, if people see you sweat, they just think you're hardworking. But if they see you achieve greatness without breaking a sweat, they think you're a genius.
All right, let's get into our final pillar of strategy, the mechanics of influence. These laws are all about indirect control, about getting other people to do exactly what you want, often without them having a clue that it was your idea in the first place. This quote from Law 7 just nails the whole Edison-Tesla thing again, doesn't it? The law itself is, get others to do the work for you, but always take the credit. It sounds brutal, I know, but Edison hired Tesla, promised him a fortune to fix his generators, and when Tesla pulled it off, Edison just laughed and kept the money. Edison took the credit, built his empire, and he did it by standing on the work of others. It's a ruthless law, but it's all about conserving your own energy for the bigger picture. Man, this next law is so critical because it's just about how people work. When you need help, don't appeal to someone's kindness or gratitude. Appeal to their self-interest. Christopher Columbus tried for years to get someone to fund his voyage. He was turned down over and over until he finally changed his approach. He stopped asking Queen Isabella to help him achieve his dream, and instead, he showed her how Spain would become richer and more powerful than all its rivals. That's what got him the money.
And for a masterclass in manipulation, you have to look at this move by Ivan the Terrible. This is Law 31, control the options. He was dealing with nobles who were trying to undermine him, so what did he do? He created a crisis. He just up and left Moscow, abandoning the throne. The city panicked. People were terrified of civil war. They begged him to come back. And he said, okay, but only if you give me absolute total power. He gave them a choice, my way or chaos. But really, both options led right back to him getting exactly what he wanted. It's the illusion of choice. So, after walking through all these strategies, from concealment to controlling your image to pure manipulation, you have to step back and ask, what is this game of power really all about?
At the end of the day, what these laws are really saying is that real, lasting power isn't about having the biggest stick. It's a subtle game of psychology. It's about controlling information so you always have an edge. It's about mastering your public image so perception becomes your reality. And it's about influencing people indirectly so they end up doing what you want, all while thinking it was their own brilliant idea. And this all leads us to one last, really challenging question. Robert Greene's point is that these laws aren't his opinion. He's just describing how power has worked for thousands of years. They aren't good or evil. They just are. So that leaves us all to wonder, in a world where these invisible rules are always being played, what's more dangerous, learning to play the game or pretending it doesn't exist?